The ardent horizon cut through the void like a sleek silver shard, slipping along the edge of the Ash-era nebula. Outside the viewport, the swirling cosmic storm churned, a vast cloud of iridescent gases in hues of deep violet and emerald green. It was a place whispered about across star charts and spaceports, a graveyard of lost civilizations, haunted by ancient secrets and dangers that devoured entire fleets. Captain Lena Voss stood silently on the bridge, her gaze locked on the blinking console that held the mysterious signal, the faint but insistent pulse reaching out from the nebula's heart. The ship's sensors had detected it weeks ago, a distress call buried beneath layers of interference and cosmic noise. No one had ever answered it, until now. The crew moved around her with practiced efficiency, their faces tense beneath the hum of machinery and the soft beep of warning consoles. The Ardent Horizon was a mid-range exploration vessel, fast and agile but lightly armed, and this mission was unlike any they had ever faced. "Status report," Lena said, her voice steady despite the weight pressing on her chest. Lieutenant Cairo, seated at the navigation console, looked up from the holographic map swirling with data points. "The signal is definitely artificial, Captain. It's a layered transmission, encoded, rerouted multiple times, possibly centuries old. It's originating from deep inside the nebula, close to the zone the Asherans claim as their territory." Lena's jaw tightened. The Asherans were notorious for their brutality. Pirates and warlords who controlled the sector with ruthless iron fists. Why would they send a distress call from their own territory? Monroe, the ship's engineer, murmured as she adjusted a dial on the engine interface. "Could be a trap," Lena admitted. "Or someone desperate enough to risk it." The ship shuddered gently as it adjusted its course, edging closer to the signal source. Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered. The ambient hum shifted into a sudden cascade of alarms. "Multiple contacts approaching fast," Cairo said sharply, his fingers dancing across the console. "Asheran warships, at least 6. Lena didn't hesitate. "Battle stations. Shields up. Weapons locked on." The crew sprang into action, their years of training kicking in as the Ardent Horizon braced for impact. Outside the viewport, the nebula seemed to close in, tendrils of glowing gas twisting like fingers ready to swallow them whole. "Captain," Cairo added, voice grim, "they're cutting off our retreat." Lena's heart pounded. This was no ordinary rescue mission. It was a fight for survival. The secrets hidden within the nebula were worth every risk. The first volley of plasma fire streaked toward the Ardent Horizon, lighting the void with deadly precision. The shields flared, absorbing the impact with violent ripples. "Return fire," Lena commanded. The ship's pulse cannons roared to life, sending beams of focused energy slicing through the nebula mist toward the Asheran ships. Kai, the security chief and a Nyx warrior of shifting crystalline form, coordinated his team in the narrow corridors, preparing for the inevitable boarding. His voice came over the comm, "All units, prepare for contact. We hold the line at all costs." The battle was fierce and unforgiving. Plasma bolts hissed through corridors, sparks flew as energy blades clashed, and the ship's structure groaned under repeated assault. Lena's mind was a whirlwind of commands and calculations. The signal kept pulsing, a beacon of hope amid chaos. Amidst the clash, a new message broke through the interference, fragments of data revealing cryptic coordinates and schematics. The ancient vault hidden deep within the nebula might hold answers, but reaching it meant surviving the storm. The Ardent Horizon shuddered violently as the Asheran flagship unleashed a torrent of plasma fire. Lena instinctively gripped the arms of her command chair, her knuckles whitening. The hull creaked like ancient timber under relentless assault. Hull integrity down to 80% and dropping. Cairo's voice was tight, tension barely masked by professional calm. "Shields are holding, but the enemy's targeting our engines." "Monroe, status on propulsion?" Lena barked. In the engineering bay, Monroe's hands flew over the control panel, toggling coolant valves and rerouting power. "Engines are overheating. If we lose thrust, we're dead in space." Lena's jaw clenched. "Keep them online. Divert all non-essential systems to auxiliary cooling." The ship lurched as another blast tore through the outer hull, setting off alarms throughout the vessel. The bridge crew instinctively ducked, the impact rattling their bones. Outside, the nebula's eerie glow illuminated the deadly ballet of warships. The Asherans were seasoned hunters, veterans of countless skirmishes, and their ruthless tactics made no allowances for mercy. "Captain," Cairo said, eyes scanning the tactical display, "they're attempting to flank us, trying to cut off escape vectors." Lena tapped her fingers on the armrest. "We don't have the firepower to outrun or outgun them. We need to outthink them." Her gaze shifted to the flickering signal on the main screen. The encoded distress beacon pulsed steadily, almost beckoning. "Prepare the boarding protocols," she ordered. "If they want to fight up close, we'll meet them on our terms." In the dimly lit corridors of the ardent horizon, Kai gathered his squad of Nyx warriors and human security officers. His crystalline form shimmered softly, casting fractured light against the ship's steel walls. "Boarders incoming," Kai warned, voice low and steady. "Positions set." The first Asheran pod slammed into the hull, magnetic clamps locking with a shriek. The boarding teams burst through breach points, plasma rifles blazing. Kai's team met them head-on. Energy blades hummed as Nyx warriors twisted and danced, their forms fluid and deadly. Sparks flew as metal clanged against shimmering shields. The corridors echoed with shouts, gunfire, and the clash of weaponry. "Hold the line," Kai commanded, carving a path through the chaos. Back on the bridge, Lena felt the weight of command crushing down, but her resolve burned bright. The crew's survival, and the mystery within the nebula, depended on her. "Captain," Cairo interrupted, voice tense, "we've decrypted part of the transmission. The signal contains star charts leading to an ancient vault deep inside Ashera Nebula. Coordinates set for Sector 9G. Lena's eyes narrowed. "A vault? What kind of technology?" "Unknown. But it's definitely ancient and highly advanced." "Plot a course," she said firmly, "and prepare for the worst." As the ardent horizon changed course, the nebula's clouds thickened, tendrils of gas wrapping around the ship like spectral fingers. The signals grew stronger, their pulse syncing eerily with the ship systems. Monroe's voice crackled over comms. "Captain, life support is showing fluctuations. The nebula's atmosphere is interfering with our systems." "We adapt," Lena said. "Keep everything stable. We're not turning back." Outside, the war raged on. The Asheran boarding forces pressed their attack, but the humans and Nyx fought with desperate ferocity. Kai parried a plasma blast, his form shimmering under the assault. He surged forward, cutting through a squadron of Asheran shock troopers. "Push them back!" he shouted, rallying the defenders. The battle grew more brutal, the ardent horizon itself trembling under the strain. Hours felt like days as the fight continued, but gradually the Asherans began to pull back, their ships retreating into the misty nebula. Lena exhaled slowly. "They're falling back." Cairo nodded. "For now." "Good. Now we follow the signal." The bridge crew leaned in as the star charts unfolded on the holographic display, coordinates to a place long forgotten, hidden beneath layers of gas and time. The ardent horizon surged forward, deeper into the nebula's secrets, and into the unknown. The nebula thickened with every mile they ventured deeper, its swirling gases twisting and curling like ancient serpents guarding a sacred treasure. Outside, the ardent horizon's hull groaned under the relentless pressure of space storms, and inside, every system strained against the creeping interference. Captain Lena Voss stood at the viewport, her silhouette framed against the cosmic storm. The eerie glow painted her face in shifting shades of green and violet. The signal's pulse had grown steadier, almost like a heartbeat from some long-lost entity reaching out across the void. "Monroe, what's our status?" Lena asked, her voice calm but edged with urgency. "Life support is holding, but the electromagnetic interference is wreaking havoc on our sensors," Monroe replied, eyes glued to her console. "We're relying on manual overrides more than automated systems. If the storm worsens, we could lose contact with command." "Understood." "Cairo, how close are we to the coordinates?" "Approximately 20,000 kilometers, Captain," Cairo answered, eyes flicking between multiple displays. "We're approaching what looks like a massive structure, at least 6 kilometers across, possibly artificial." "Show me," Lena said. The main screen flickered to reveal an enormous, shadowy construct drifting silently within the nebula's heart. Its geometric lines were jagged but unmistakably engineered, a vast station or vault, ancient and dormant. "The Asherans were right to guard this place," Lena muttered. "Captain," Cairo continued, "the station's shield matrix is still active, but weakening. We may have a window to get inside." Lena took a deep breath. "Prepare boarding teams. We're going in." Kai assembled his team in the ship's armory, weapons checked and energy blades humming softly in the dim light. "Listen up," he said, his crystalline eyes glowing steady. "This station could be a trap. We don't know what we'll find inside, but we're the first to set foot here in centuries. Stay sharp. Watch each other's backs." The team nodded, readying themselves. The tension was thick, but the prospect of uncovering lost knowledge drove them forward. Outside, the ardent horizon eased closer to the station's docking bay. The massive airlock yawned open, revealing the shadowed interior beyond. Lena led the first shuttle, its engines humming softly as it glided inside. The atmosphere inside the station was stale but breathable, a relic of some forgotten age. Inside, the corridors were labyrinthine, lined with panels of faded glyphs and flickering consoles. The air smelled of dust and ancient metal. "Kai, report," Lena said as they moved cautiously forward. "Security teams are scanning for life signs," Kai replied. "No movement detected so far." As they explored deeper, Lena's communicator buzzed. "Captain," Monroe's voice crackled through, "we've picked up residual power readings ahead, something still active." Lena's heart quickened. "Proceed with caution." Suddenly, the station's interior lights flickered and surged to life, revealing towering machines and complex arrays. From the shadows, an automated defense system activated, laser turrets humming and locking onto the intruders. "Ambush!" Kai shouted. The team dove for cover as bolts of searing light tore through the corridor. A fierce firefight erupted inside the station. Kai and his Nyx warriors moved with practiced precision, dodging blasts and returning fire. Lena coordinated from the rear, issuing orders and strategizing their advance. "Take out the turrets," she commanded. "We need to reach the control room." They fought through waves of automated defenses, the station itself seeming to resist their intrusion. After what felt like hours, the team breached the control chamber. The room was dominated by a massive console covered in glowing symbols and a pulsating core at its center. "This must be the heart of the station," Lena said, awe in her voice. Cairo quickly interfaced with the console, his fingers dancing over the controls. Data flooded their screens, star charts, weapon schematics, and most importantly, the ancient equation of echoes. Lena's eyes widened. This was the key, the secret weapon lost to time, now theirs to uncover. But the station shuddered violently. An ominous rumble echoed through the halls. "Structural integrity compromised," Monroe warned over comms. "We've triggered the station's self-destruct sequence." "Everyone, fall back," Lena shouted. The team sprinted back through collapsing corridors, dodging debris and energy discharges. The ardent horizon was their only hope for escape. As they burst through the airlock and lifted off, Lena watched the station implode behind them, a starburst of light swallowed by the nebula. Breathing heavily, she turned to her crew. "We have what we came for. The equation of echoes is real." The journey was just beginning. The ardent horizon drifted through the swirling chaos of the Ashera Nebula, its engines burning a steady blue against the kaleidoscope of cosmic storms. Outside, the remnants of the ancient station had vanished, swallowed in a violent collapse of light and debris. Inside, the hum of the ship's systems was a fragile comfort. Captain Lena Voss stood alone on the bridge, the weight of the equation of echoes heavy in her mind. The data she and her crew had extracted was fragmented and cryptic, but it pulsed with undeniable power, an ancient code written in the language of stars and dimensions. It promised knowledge, weaponry, and technology far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. But it also promised danger. Her eyes drifted to the star charts projected in front of her, constellations unknown, paths winding through the galaxy like veins of light. Somewhere out there lay the next key, an even deeper mystery hidden in the shadows of history. "Captain," Lieutenant Cairo's voice broke the silence, steady but cautious. "We've received a priority transmission from the Coalition Command. They've flagged the Ashera sector as hostile and are dispatching a task force." Lena's jaw tightened. The Coalition was the interstellar alliance that maintained fragile peace between species. Their message was clear: stay away from Ashera. "Of course," she said quietly. "They want us out before we dig too deep." Cairo nodded. "They don't believe in the legends, but they're afraid of what the equation could mean." Lena's thoughts flashed back to the battle, the boarding fight, the ancient station's self-destruct sequence, and the way the Asherans had fought to keep the secret buried. "Prepare for contact," she ordered. "We're not running." The crew moved with tense efficiency, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. In the ship's cramped corridors, Security Chief Kai gathered his team. "We're not just fighting Asherans anymore," he said grimly. "The Coalition Task Force is en route. We have enemies on every side." Kai's crystalline form shimmered under the fluorescent lights, his sharp eyes scanning faces hardened by months of isolation and danger. "We fight to survive," he added, "and to uncover the truth." In the ship's data core, Monroe worked feverishly to decrypt more of the equation. The code was like nothing she'd ever seen. Mathematics intertwined with quantum flux, temporal loops, and fractal patterns that shifted as she studied them. "Captain," Monroe said over the comms, her voice tight with exhaustion, "this isn't just technology. It's a map, a blueprint for something that could rewrite reality itself." Lena's heart pounded. And the Asherans knew it. That's why they guarded the station with their lives. Suddenly, the ship's sensors flared, multiple contacts emerging from the nebula's depths. "Contact approaching fast," Cairo reported, eyes flicking to the display. "Coalition warships, 5 vessels, heavily armed." Lena's pulse quickened. They were trapped between two powerful forces, the Asherans who wanted the secret buried, and the Coalition who feared its power. "Battle stations," she commanded. "Hold position. We'll negotiate if we can, but be ready to fight." The ship's lights dimmed, weapon systems humming to life. Outside, the stars seemed to hold their breath as the ardent horizon faced down its fate. And the echoes of Ashera whispered in the darkness. The ardent horizon's bridge became a hive of calculated tension. Crew members moved swiftly between consoles, their faces lit by cold blue glows and flashing warnings. Lena stood resolute, her eyes scanning the starfield as the approaching Coalition task force closed in. The 5 Coalition warships bore the insignia of the Saren fleet, sleek, angular vessels built for rapid strikes and overwhelming firepower. Each carried squadrons of fighters and an arsenal that dwarfed the ardent horizon's own defenses. "Commander Cairo, status on communications?" Lena asked. Cairo's fingers danced over the console. "Open channels, but encrypted. No response to hails yet." Minutes ticked by like hours. The tension was suffocating. Suddenly, the main screen flickered. A holographic figure appeared, a tall, stern woman in Coalition Command regalia. "Captain Voss," she said, voice sharp and authoritative. "You are ordered to stand down and surrender the equation of echoes. This technology is deemed too dangerous for any one species to control." Lena's lips tightened. "We're not surrendering anything. The equation belongs to whoever can unlock its secrets." The officer's eyes narrowed. "That is an order. Compliance will prevent unnecessary bloodshed." Lena exchanged a glance with Cairo. "Status on our defenses?" "Shields at 60% and holding. Weapons systems operational," Cairo replied. "Prepare to defend," Lena ordered. "But keep channels open." Tensions escalated as the two forces hovered on the edge of war. In the quiet moments, Lena reflected on what had brought them here, a desperate journey into forgotten history, chasing a myth that now threatened to unravel the fragile peace between worlds. Elsewhere, deep within the ship, Monroe's eyes flicked over the glowing equations cascading down her screen. The patterns teased her, shifting just beyond full comprehension. "This isn't just a weapon or map," she murmured. "It's a legacy, left behind by a civilization that vanished into the stars." Her mind raced with possibilities: time manipulation, energy harnessing, even gateways to other dimensions. Captain, her voice interrupted Lena's thoughts, I've isolated a partial key embedded in the equation. If we can decode it fully, we could unlock technology that changes the course of the galaxy. Lena swallowed hard. Then we have to survive long enough to do it. Back on the bridge, the tension shattered as the coalition ships suddenly shifted formation, an unmistakable precursor to attack. Brace for impact! Cairo shouted. The ardent horizon rocked violently as energy bolts screamed past its hull, explosions blooming on the outer shields. The battle erupted in a storm of light and sound. The ardent horizon's weapons roared to life, plasma bolts and missiles streaking into the void. Cairo coordinated defense with ruthless precision, directing fighter squadrons to intercept incoming attackers. The nebula's shifting mists became a deadly battlefield, each explosion sending shockwaves through the ship. Amidst the chaos, Lena's mind stayed razor-sharp. She issued orders to maximize shield reroutes, maneuvering the ship through the nebula's deadly currents to avoid the worst of the assault. Hours blurred as the fight raged on. Slowly, the ardent horizon's endurance began to tell. Shields flickered, systems overheated, and crew members pushed beyond exhaustion. Yet Lena refused to yield. The equation's secrets were worth any cost. Finally, the coalition ships began to pull back, battered and wary. The holographic officer returned to the screen. This is not over, Captain Voss. The coalition will return. Lena met her gaze firmly. We'll be ready. As silence settled, the ardent horizon limped deeper into the nebula, shadows from the past closing in. The ardent horizon drifted in the aftermath of battle, the nebula's swirling colors casting an eerie glow through the viewport. The air was thick with exhaustion and unspoken questions. The crew moved quietly, nursing damaged systems and patching wounds, while the ship's AI flickered faintly, its processors taxed but still operational. Captain Lena Voss stood alone in the observation deck, her gaze distant. The equation of echoes sat locked behind layers of encryption, a puzzle waiting to be solved. But the confrontation with the coalition had made one thing painfully clear. They were not the only ones chasing this power. Captain, Cairo's voice came soft over the comm, we've detected an unknown vessel approaching at high speed. Lena's eyes narrowed. On screen, the main viewport flared to life. A sleek ship unlike any they'd seen appeared, a stealthy, angular design that shimmered as if cloaked. No insignia, no markings. A ghost in the nebula. Unknown origin, Monroe reported. No communications. The tension on the bridge ratcheted up instantly. Prepare defenses, Lena ordered. But hold fire unless fired upon. As the ghost ship closed in, it emitted a series of strange signals, complex frequencies that Monroe rapidly analyzed. It's a message, she said slowly. Encrypted, but ancient. Asheran, I think. Lena's heart raced. Can we decode it? Monroe nodded. I'm working on it. But the encryption is layered, like a lockbox within a lockbox. Minutes stretched into agonizing hours as the ardent horizon and the shadowy vessel held their standoff, neither willing to make the first aggressive move. Then, the message began to clarify, a warning from the Asherans themselves. Beware the seekers of the equation, Monroe read aloud. Not all who pursue it wish for light. Shadows gather beyond the stars. The words sent a chill through the crew. This was no longer just a race for knowledge. It was a war for survival. In the ship's science bay, Lena and Monroe pored over the growing trove of data from the equation. Strange symbols pulsed with energy, hinting at technologies that defied explanation. Gravity manipulation, temporal loops, and even gateways that bent space itself. This is bigger than anything humanity has dreamed, Monroe said. If we unlock this fully, it could shift the balance of power across the galaxy. Lena nodded, conflicted. The cost had already been steep, battles, betrayals, and enemies lurking in every shadow. Meanwhile, in the quiet of the ship's quarters, Cairo reflected on the events. His crystalline eyes traced the glowing stars outside. The equation of echoes was a beacon, but to whom? And what price would be paid before the truth was revealed? Suddenly, alarms blared. The shadow ship fired a warning shot, a precise energy pulse aimed at disabling the Ardent Horizon's engines. Evasive maneuvers. Lena commanded. Return fire only if necessary. The ship shuddered as systems flickered. But just as the shadow vessel prepared to strike again, it abruptly turned away, disappearing into the nebula's swirling mists. As the crew caught their breath, Lena knew the battle was far from over. The equation was a key to unimaginable power, and enemies would come from every corner of the galaxy to claim it. The Ardent Horizon sailed cautiously through the dying light of the Ash-era nebula, scars of battle etched into its hull and systems humming with uneasy energy. The warning from the mysterious shadow vessel echoed in Captain Lena Voss's mind, a chilling reminder that the galaxy was shifting beneath their feet. In the dim glow of the command center, Lena gathered her senior officers. The decrypted fragments of the equation of echoes lay spread across the holodeck, a chaotic tapestry of star maps, cryptic glyphs, and mathematical anomalies. "We've only scratched the surface," Lena said, voice steady but heavy with urgency. "But every piece points to one thing. There's a deeper network out there, an ancient web of knowledge scattered across forgotten worlds." Monroe stepped forward, her eyes reflecting the shimmering codes. "I've identified a potential site, an abandoned research station orbiting the dead star Archiles. The data signatures match parts of the equation." Cairo's crystalline gaze sharpened. "A possible next step. But we're not alone in seeking it." Lena nodded. "We'll head there next. But we need to prepare, reinforce defenses, gather intelligence, and be ready for anything." As the Ardent Horizon set course for Archiles, the crew worked tirelessly. Technicians repaired damaged weapon systems, scientists pored over the growing trove of ancient data, and security teams ran drills in anticipation of another confrontation. In the ship's quiet corners, whispers of doubt and fear mingled with determination. The equation was a prize beyond measure, but it was also a beacon attracting predators from every corner of the galaxy. Lena found herself drawn back to the station's ruins in her dreams, the cold corridors, the dying lights, and the last desperate fight to protect a secret older than any known civilization. When the Ardent Horizon emerged from hyperspace near Archiles, the crew faced a ghost world, silent, cold, and wrapped in a shroud of cosmic dust. The research station loomed, a skeletal ruin circling the shattered star like a relic of forgotten ambition. Landing teams suited up for exploration. Lena led the first wave, stepping into the station's dead corridors. The air was stale, and systems flickered weakly under the weight of centuries. Every step echoed with history. Deeper inside, they uncovered data cores humming with residual energy and glyphs that seemed to shift under their gaze, living code waiting to be reawakened. Monroe worked quickly to retrieve the data, her fingers trembling as layers of encryption peeled away to reveal new fragments of the equation. But then, the station's dormant defense systems stirred, ancient sentinels powering up in a cascade of sparks and mechanical whirs. The corridors flooded with red light, and automated turrets sprang to life. The boarding team scattered, dodging blasts and scrambling for cover. Lena barked orders, rallying her crew to fight their way to the control core and disable the defenses. Amidst the chaos, Cairo's squad moved with lethal precision, their energy blades cutting a path through the relentless onslaught. As the battle raged, Monroe unlocked a final piece of the puzzle, an encoded star chart pointing to a hidden cache deep in the Archiles system. Lena's voice was firm. "We get that data, we find the next key." The team pushed forward, hearts pounding, hope and danger entwined in every step. The battle was far from over, but the echoes of the past were beginning to reveal their secrets. The air inside the abandoned research station was thick with dust and stale remnants of a civilization long lost. Flickering emergency lights cast eerie shadows along the cracked walls, their faded glyphs telling stories no one alive could read. The Ardent Horizon's landing party pressed forward cautiously, their boots echoing softly against the cold metal flooring. Captain Lena Voss led the team, her pulse steady despite the ominous silence. Every step felt like walking into history's waiting arms, and arms that might close suddenly. "We're not alone," murmured Cairo, his crystalline eyes scanning the darkness for any movement. His squad formed a protective perimeter, weapons drawn but ready for silent engagement. "Keep your comms tight," Lena ordered. "Monroe, how's the data retrieval?" Monroe's fingers danced across her portable console. "Still decrypting, but I'm picking up fragments of star maps and coordinates. This station was clearly a research hub, a relay point in the equations network. Suddenly, the ground trembled, a deep mechanical groan vibrating through the hull. Without warning, panels slid open along the walls, revealing ancient defense turrets, their barrels gleaming with a cold blue light. "Contact!" Cairo shouted as energy blasts streaked through the corridors. The team scattered, diving for cover as the turrets opened fire with relentless precision. Lena fired back with her pulse rifle, the weapon's bright bolts carving through the gloom. "Suppressing fire," she called, motioning for the tech specialists to work on the station's control systems. Cairo's squad moved like shadows, cutting through the defense drones that sprang to life, their synthetic bodies armored and deadly. The battle echoed through the corridors, explosions shaking loose debris, alarms blaring, and the sharp ring of energy weapons. Monroe shouted over the comms, "I'm close. Just a few more seconds." Lena kept a steady eye on the team's flanks, aware that the station might hold other surprises. The defense systems were automated and ruthless. Their creators had wanted no intruders. Time slowed. The station's defense systems intensified, increasing fire rate and activating more turrets. Several crew members took hits, a harsh reminder of the stakes. "Hold the line," Lena roared, pushing herself harder. Her pulse rifle cracked repeatedly, each shot precise. Cairo slashed through a drone with an energy blade, sparks flying as the synthetic beast collapsed. Finally, Monroe's voice broke through the din. "Got it. Downloading the core data now." The holotable flickered to life, projecting a swirling star map centered on a hidden sector beyond Archiles, a place not marked on any known chart. "It's a secret cache," Monroe explained, breathless. "Tech, data, maybe even more of the equation." Lena gritted her teeth. "This is bigger than we thought." The Asherans didn't just hide knowledge here, they protected a vault. And now, others will come for it. As the team made a rapid exit, turrets firing behind them, Lena's mind raced. The race was accelerating, and the shadows gathering beyond the stars were closing in fast. The ardent horizon sailed cautiously through the dying light of the Ash-era nebula, scars of battle etched into its hull and systems humming with uneasy energy. The warning from the mysterious shadow vessel echoed in Captain Lena Voss's mind, a chilling reminder that the galaxy was shifting beneath their feet. Lena stared at the console, suddenly aware of the weight of their pursuit. And who else knows? On cue, alarms blared. A coalition fleet had entered the system. The asteroid field ignited with war. Coalition battleships pushed through the debris like predators in a dark sea, weapons blazing as they locked onto the ardent horizon and the vault. "We have to hold them off long enough to finish the download," Lena ordered. "Everyone to battle stations." The horizon deployed drones and defensive satellites while fighters launched to intercept coalition bombers. In the vault, Monroe and her team worked feverishly to finish the data transfer. Explosions rocked the asteroid, chunks of stone and metal drifting into space as the coalition tightened their net. On the horizon's bridge, Cairo coordinated squadron maneuvers, his calm demeanor belying the ferocity of the battle. "They're trying to disable the vault, not destroy it. They want what we found." Inside, Lena led a team through the labyrinthine corridors, setting demolition charges in case they had to destroy the vault rather than let it fall. Monroe called out, "Transfer complete. I have everything." Lena activated the final sequence. "Then we fall back." As the last shuttle escaped, the vault detonated behind them, consumed in a bloom of white-hot light. The ardent horizon jumped to hyperspace seconds before being overwhelmed. In the aftermath of the escape, the crew regrouped in orbit of a quiet moon. Repairs were underway, and Monroe was already sorting through the new data. But something was wrong. "The equation, it's fragmented," she said, frustration in her voice. "The vault's final defenses scrambled part of the encoding. We have most of it, but key segments are gone." "Can we reconstruct it?" Lena asked. "Maybe," Monroe replied. "If we find other vaults or archives tied to the original Asheran network." A silence settled. The journey wasn't over. It had just become more dangerous. As the crew rested, Lena stood alone on the observation deck, watching stars drift past. They had glimpsed something immense, powerful, and terrifying. And they weren't the only ones searching. Far across the void, something else stirred. A mind awakened by the equation's echo. And it was coming. The ardent horizon limped into the fringe system of Tyerland's reach, her hull scarred and systems strained from the vault escape. They had escaped with their lives and most of the equation data, but the loss of fragments weighed heavily on Monroe and Lena. Inside the command chamber, Monroe spoke over the glow of the holomap. There are 3 more sites listed in the surviving data fragments. One of them is here, in this system. Cairo leaned in, arms folded. Tyerland's reach is a war zone. Local resistance groups are fighting off both coalition patrols and private mercenary fleets. Lena nodded. We make contact with the resistance. If they're holding a vault, they'll need allies to keep it safe. Their diplomatic shuttle descended to the surface of Kiral 3, a rocky desert world scarred by orbital bombardments. Dust storms raged in the distance as Lena and her team approached a hidden canyon base operated by the Tyerland Free Alliance. They were met with skepticism and drawn weapons, but after a tense negotiation and Monroe's demonstration of the vault's data, the resistance commander, a scarred veteran named Therek, agreed to speak. The vault is real, Therek said. Buried beneath a canyon fortress we've held for years. But the coalition knows. They've been advancing for weeks. If they take that site, it's over for us, and you. Lena stepped forward. Then we help you hold it. Coalition forces arrived 3 days later. The battle was unlike any before, urban combat, guerrilla ambushes, and kinetic bombardments from orbit. Lena and Cairo led joint operations alongside Tyerland fighters. Turrets were rigged in collapsed buildings, sniper nests formed atop ancient ridges, and choke points mined to slow the enemy's tanks. Inside the fortress, Monroe worked to access the buried vault systems, racing to extract the remaining equation fragments. The final wave came at nightfall. A full assault, coalition dropships raining troops like a flood of metal and fire. The horizon burned. But so did the resistance. With precision airstrikes from the horizon and brutal counterattacks by ground forces, the coalition was finally pushed back, barely. The vault held. And with it, another piece of the equation. Though victorious, the price was steep. Dozens of resistance fighters lost, the fortress nearly in ruins. As Monroe decrypted the new fragments, the crew of the Horizon began to realize what they were assembling. Not a weapon, but a lens. A technology capable of folding space, creating stable wormholes across vast distances. It's transportation, Monroe whispered. Not destruction. But whoever controls it could move fleets in seconds. Invade without warning. Lena absorbed the implications. We need to find the final vaults before anyone else does. But a message arrived, encrypted, bearing a symbol only Lena recognized. A former comrade, long thought dead, now a pirate lord controlling the Vadran Rift. And he had found the next vault. I'll lead this one, Lena said. He won't talk to anyone else. The Horizon entered the rift under cloak, dodging pirate patrols and navigating ion storms that shredded less agile ships. They found the pirate base carved into an asteroid, a fortress of cannons and salvaged tech. Lena went in with a small team, disguised. At the heart of the base, she met Varric, a man as dangerous as he was charming. You always were a step ahead, Varric said, eyeing her rifle. But this equation, it's worth more than alliances. It's power, Lena. She played his ego, offered a deal, a share of the tech, protection, access to other sites. In truth, she only needed time. While they negotiated, Cairo infiltrated the vault hidden below the base, securing the data and disabling the weapon systems. When the pirates realized, it was too late. The Horizon jumped with the team seconds before the asteroid erupted in mutiny. One more piece secured. But enemies multiplying. Each piece of the equation brought clarity and danger. Monroe now saw the pattern. The Asherans had scattered the equation for a reason. Together, it could awaken a technology that defied understanding. The final vault isn't a place, she said. It's a network hub. A nexus. The others were branches. This one controls the roots. Its coordinates lay beyond the edge of known space, near the galactic halo. But they weren't alone in pursuit. A synthetic fleet, machines born from a failed Osharan experiment, had also begun to awaken. Drawn by the same signals, the horizon raced them to the edge. In the shadow of a black dwarf, they found it, the Nexus Vault. A construct the size of a small moon, wrapped in fields of dark energy and surrounded by debris from forgotten wars. The synthetic fleet arrived moments later. What followed was the most brutal space battle yet. The Horizon deployed every drone, every mine, every trick it had. Cairo led a daring strike team into the Nexus itself, while Lena coordinated the defense. Inside, Monroe initiated the final equation sequence. Reality warped. The vault lit with stars. A tunnel of light formed between systems, folded space rippling open like a scar. The machines surged, trying to hijack the process. But Monroe made a choice. She collapsed the fold on herself, trapping the machines in a void pocket, sacrificing her mind to close the gate. Silence had never felt so deafening. The ardent horizon drifted in the aftermath of the Nexus battle, its hull pocked with scorched wounds, its crew reeling from the scale of their narrow victory. Emergency lights flickered through the corridors as engineers scrambled to reroute life support, patch radiation leaks, and stabilize the engines. In the command center, Captain Lena Ryle stood over the tactical display, her jaw clenched. The Nexus Vault, the central hub of the equation network, still pulsed in the void nearby, dimmed but not silent. Its inner workings had been partially activated before Monroe's sacrifice. The folding tunnel had opened, blazed across light years, and collapsed again, taking the synthetic fleet with it into an unknown dimensional pocket. Monroe had initiated that closure herself. Now, her body lay in a stasis chamber, alive but unmoving, her consciousness disconnected. Scans couldn't find her neural patterns, and yet her body showed no signs of death. "She's somewhere in the in-between," Cairo said, staring through the reinforced glass. "She took control of the fold equation and became part of it." Lena nodded grimly. "Then we find a way to bring her back." The Nexus Vault was far from inert. In its depths, Monroe had only unlocked a portion of its systems. Now, strange signals were being transmitted, some automated Osharan failsafes, others likely awakened by her mental interface with the core. And they weren't the only ones listening. 2 days after the battle, an unknown vessel appeared at the edge of the system. Sleek, angular, and bristling with technology the Horizon couldn't identify, it didn't respond to hails. "It's not Coalition," Cairo reported. "Not synthetic either. Possibly something older." "Show them we're ready," Lena said. But before they could take action, the alien vessel launched a boarding spike, drilling through the Horizon's weakened hull and deploying gravity-anchored shock troops. The enemy was fast, cloaked in refractive armor, and eerily silent. No communication. No demands. Just efficient elimination. Lena, Cairo, and a contingent of resistance marines fought back, deck by deck, room by room. The firefight raged through the lower levels, lighting the ship in bursts of red and smoke. In the core chamber, the aliens reached the stasis room. Their target wasn't Lena. It was Monroe. Cairo launched a kinetic grenade that tore through the lead intruder, while Lena dragged Monroe's pod to the emergency armory. The rest of the crew funneled enemy forces into choke points and began venting sections of the ship to slow their advance. Back in the Nexus Vault, something changed. A ripple of energy surged outward from the central node, momentarily stunning every system aboard both ships. In that moment, Lena saw Monroe's eyes flutter open, but instead of clarity, there was a faint glow. A shimmering reflection of the Nexus interface embedded in her irises. "She's awake," Lena said. "No," Cairo whispered. "She's connected." Monroe's voice came through the ship's intercoms, modulated and layered. "The vault is under siege. They want what I now protect." Through her link, Monroe controlled the vault's defense systems. On her command, ancient Osharan drones reactivated around the construct, swarming the alien vessel and cutting it off from reinforcements. The boarding spike was retracted. The enemy retreated, hounded by beams of compressed quantum light. When it was over, the Nexus pulsed again, this time slower, steadier. Monroe's body fell still. "She gave us control," Lena said. "The entire Nexus responds to us now." In the days that followed, the ardent horizon stabilized. The crew repaired what they could, the resistance reinforcements began arriving, and Lena took stock of their situation. The Nexus offered unimaginable possibilities: instantaneous travel, galactic resource management, even terraforming potential. But Lena knew that was exactly why no one could be allowed to control it. Cairo stood beside her in the vault's control chamber. "You know what we have to do." Lena nodded. "We bury it again, deeper than before." The plan was ambitious. Using the vault's own architecture, they programmed a time-dimensional fold to displace the entire structure into a zero-coordinate space-time fracture, an unreachable pocket dimension, secure from pursuit or exploitation. But once it was done, there would be no going back. No chance to retrieve Monroe, unless... Just before activation, Monroe stirred again. Her voice returned, no longer distorted. "Lena, I've seen what lies beyond. I'm not alone. The Asherans, some survived. Or echoes of them did. They guard the next step." Lena froze. Next step. The equation wasn't just travel. It was the first phase. There's more. Another lattice. One that bends time, not space. Cairo whispered, "She's talking about temporal manipulation." Monroe smiled weakly. "Find me. I'll be waiting." With that, she initiated the vault's final sequence. The vault disappeared in a blaze of folded dimensions, leaving nothing but a gravity echo and a silent starfield. The ardent horizon, now fully restored and upgraded with salvaged Asheran technology, turned its bow toward deep space. Lena addressed the crew. "We've touched something bigger than all of us. We saw what unchecked power does, and what it costs to stop it. But this isn't the end. It's the first ripple. The first echo." She looked at the star chart, the new paths unlocked by the vault before its closure. Dozens of strange anomalies, forgotten systems, and dark signals now called to them. "Set course," Lena ordered. "Let's finish what we started." The horizon jumped, and the story continued.